Hi, everyone. I'm Gwen Callahan. I'm the co-director of Portland Horror Film Festival. And tonight I am joined by the amazing filmmakers from Shorts Block 6 for the Q&A. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for being here with me. I'll introduce everyone. We've got William Lott and Josh Nadler from Bottom. We have Daniel Della Purgatorio from Bug Bites. We have Stefan Fernandez from Erotic Insect. Sophie Somora from Love is a Fire, Michael Kratochville from I Call Upon Thee, Andrew Cash with Hooky, and Chris McEnroy with Guts. And I think that Izzy Lee, whose films Meat Friend and her micro short Memento Mori is also in this short, will be joining us at some point during the course of the Q&A. So William, I'm going to start with you because you are first on my screen. So your film Bottom is a really awesome queer horror film that gets real weird. It did not go where I was expecting it. Talk to us a little bit about turning kind of the expectation on its head.
Yeah, I mean, that was really like something that was really important about the story was the juxtaposition of what you're expecting someone who may be perceived as more submissive and kind of flipping that and really diving into what it means to take hold of your power and step into that and taking your vulnerability and turning it into something of strength.
Nice. I love all of the lead up into it. The whole rubber sheet thing and the guy who comes over is like, "Are you expecting a mess?" And
Right.
so great to then reveal at the end that he's just like a monster and like, yeah, he's expecting a mess.
Yeah, I'm so happy you liked that. The tarp, it's Home Depot. It was so easy to get and it worked perfectly. It got the point across perfectly.
Tell us a little bit about the effects makeup.
You mean like the arm itself?
Yeah.
So it's actually funny. It's a pool. It's a pool noodle that I like took and workshopped with a wire and liquid latex and like some cotton balls. It's very DIY, but I think in the film we really utilized like the shadows on the wall and we added some visual effects in there for the goo and I think it turned out okay. I think it looks pretty interesting, pretty sick. So yeah.
As a filmmaker, I mean, we all kind of write what we know and put on screen things that come from like a personal place. And for you, is this true of all of your films, or do you just sometimes make films for fun?
Well, this is my first, I would say, like my first official go at directing a film. And I think with this one specifically, it was important to take my experience internally and what I've gone through as a queer person growing up in a small town, and take that and kind of make it very easy to receive in the like sexual aspect, and let the audience kind of interpret what that means internally, what that character is going through in their heads. And with this one, it was very very personal in that aspect, I think. And I think a lot of people, not just queer people, can relate to that.
Okay. And you're an actor as well, correct? Because you're actually in one of the other films in our festival.
Yeah. Infested Hearts. Yeah. I started acting from a young age. When I moved to LA, that was the main focus, but I kind of always wrote stuff in my notepad, like as scripts with a pen and paper, and messed around with the family video camera. And it kind of became more of a focus during the pandemic, actually. So I kind of shifted gears a little bit, but I still do act. Yeah.
Okay. And it's interesting that both you and Michael Varati's film both feature some like creature arms.
I
And
know.
people should have already seen his film, so this shouldn't be a spoiler.
Yeah, yeah. And that one, I'm the creature. So it was kind of a full circle moment for me. I was like, okay, see, it all ended up being what I had in my head anyway. So it's funny, yeah.
So that was not the same, like that wasn't a planned thing. It just kind of happened to be.
Yeah, it wasn't at all. We filmed Bottom last June, and finished post in I think like September, and we filmed. I think Infested Hearts was filmed in October. But yeah, my main thing there, I just didn't want to work with like real cockroaches or anything like that. So
I don't blame you, you and me. Oh my goodness. And Josh, for you, what was it like being in this film where you kind of get to play with a stereotypical character?
Yeah, I love a stereotype, so I'm good with playing it. I'm good with playing against it. But Will and I are friends in real life. So I feel like that's always a plus when you are working on anything is that comfort level, especially with this subject matter. And Will made the whole experience super comfortable, not only from being just a friend, but being an actor and being able to go to some of the weird places that we had to go. So overall, it was really fun.
Did you like playing a monster?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I love, just as much as I'd love to play the final girl, I love to play the villain. So definitely fun.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much.
thank you so much.
I'm gonna hop over to Daniel with Bug Bites, and your film also has a surprising twist in it. Like instead of there being bed bugs, what you're expecting, there is a large pest under the bed. um, how did you come up with this idea for I guess it's a telemarketer or something that's you know pestering this woman?
Yeah, I think the whole movie really stemmed from how shitty the pandemic was, and this was, our first outing as a group to make a film again. And so we were sitting down talking, and we wanted to do something that sort of summed up 2 years, almost 2 years being stuck in our house, not talking to anybody. So a lot of the film was very much playing off of the idea of the only people we were talking to were telemarketers, like getting 9,000 calls a day and getting letters in the mail and getting emails for extending your car's warranty. And it was really interesting because the connection with our main talent and the connection at the end, we wanted to really play up this really drawn out moment where no one knows how to talk to each other. And we just wanted to keep going in a circle and a circle and a circle. And it just sort of all came about, from being locked up. So that was the main idea.
Okay, excellent. Your actress and the actor who plays the bug guy, the exterminator person, were wonderful. And then when that moment when they rip back the covers and you see the thing there, that's just fantastic. And was that all done practically?
Yeah, everything was practical. It's funny because the exterminator is our production designer, and I've been working with him for like 15 years, and he just has a great look. And he didn't act; he was just being himself. And so when we were writing the movie, I was like, his name's Big, and he's like a literal Big, and I'm like, Big, you got to be in this movie. And he's like, okay. And then when we were about to shoot, he's like, fuck, I shouldn't have agreed to be in the movie. He was like super stressed out about it, but I said, just be yourself. You don't have to do anything. And it was great. And so yeah, he got to build all the sets and build all the crazy bed stuff. And then he got to jump in and act, and he was totally stressing about it the whole time, but it was great.
Nice. I have I've been having some weird dreams about like the movies we've been watching, because we watch them over and over when we're trying to decide what order to put them in, how to group them, and yeah, that's definitely been an element of like my covers falling off and like weird being in my bed.
Well, I took the bed was my kid's bed. So like we got him a new bed, but I took the bed. I'm like, hey, I'm going to save this because I'm going to use it in a movie. So when we were like started to make it, I like showed it to him. He's like, did it really look like that inside the bed? I'm like, no, man. Like we ripped it apart. We put a bunch of blood and stuff in it. And he was like totally freaking out. But then he was like really excited afterwards when he saw the pieces come together, which was great.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I mean, other people's mattresses are just nightmare fodder anyway, but that just adds a whole extra layer on top of it.
We threw when we were done, we threw it away. Like after, you know, we were making it, was like hanging out of the dumpster, and it was like blood dripping off of it. And it was all ripped up, and all the people walking by, like we had like a camera outside of our shop, and all the people walking by were like stopping, and people were like poking at it with like sticks and stuff, which was way cooler than the actual movie itself, which is great.
Okay, so there's like a bug theme going on in this shorts block, but oh yeah, so the bed, it seemed like, how deep was that? Because was there a false space under there? Because it seemed like there was more height than what was just a bed frame.
Yeah, it was 4 feet down. So like the guy had like a house underneath the bed. Yeah. So we built a elevated set. So we were able to put like the house underneath it. So when it opened up, you could sort of crawl down into it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I'm going to jump over to Stefan Fernandez with Erotic Insect. A lot of bug trauma happening in these films. Was this also a film that was made during COVID?
Yes, it was. It was we were bored during the pandemic, and no pun intended, I got this bug to shoot something, but we had a very low budget, and it was just, I was trying to hire a DP and an editor, but everyone kind of didn't want to do it. I don't know if it was because of the script or because vaccines weren't out, so nobody felt comfortable. So I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna get my next door neighbor to, actually, he's the exterminator in the film. His name is Eric. And yeah, it was just me and then of course my effects guy, Jeremy. It was just 3 of us, and we just shot it over a weekend.
Wow. How large were the bugs at the end? Because they look kind of life size.
They were life size. Yeah, they were about, I would say, like 4 to 5 feet. There's 2 bugs, so it's my good friend Natalie and my wife Nikayla, and we just I sent Jeremy the measurements, and he basically produced. I sent him sketches, and I said these need to be 4 to 5 feet, and he did it in about 4 weeks. And we actually didn't try the costumes on until the day of, because he lived in Pennsylvania at the time, so we just had to really make it work on the day of, and it really worked out.
Oh my gosh, they're so I love the look of them. They're so weird and like, yet somehow sexy.
Yeah. No, I think the main thing was just to make them like look kind of like latex bugs, like a GIMP bug. He just kind of went for this very leather look, and I thought, I think it works out at the very end. But without the bugs, I don't think it would have been possible. I mean, that was the one conversation we had. I kind of talked to Jeremy, and I said, can we pull this off? And I just felt like if the bugs weren't just didn't look good, just not really worth kind of the shoot.
It is kind of the money shot when you feel at the end there. I love the voice acting too. The women's voices are very funny.
Yeah, that was like 3 hours of just my wife and her friend just really just giving some sex talk, and kind of and we just had a blast. I mean, we just had a couple beers, and just kind of, and then at one point I just kind of said, You know, you guys are comfortable with each other, just like have fun with the mic for about 30 minutes. And that stuff is the stuff that really actually made it into the film.
Okay.
My sound designer said that was his favorite, you know, recording of that 3-hour session.
And then where did you get all the magazines? Because some of them looked pretty vintage.
Yeah, so that was I went to every romantic depot in New Jersey, and I just basically I just had this kind of, I wanted a specific image, and it kind of worked out. But yeah, that was about a week-long process of looking through a lot of pornography. But when we found the right shot, it was, I think it really kind of fits the narrative.
Well done. Very well done.
Thank you.
Um, thank you so much for making this wonderful, awesome, like weird piece of film. Brian and I both, we also run the HP Lovecraft Film Festival. So for those of you who don't know, it's a festival that concentrates on the weird and cosmic horror and the subgenres of the weird and cosmic horror. So for us, like things like this are right up our alley, which is why we kind of tend to have an entire block's worth of films that are just like weird and gooey and fun. So thank you.
Thank you for
I'm
having
gonna
me.
hop over to Sophie with Love is a Fire. And your film has a lot to say, and your characters don't say a lot, but like everything that happens in the film has a very strong message with many layers. Where did this idea and story come from?
Candidly, it came from an experience where I noticed I had a hole in my underwear and was like, that's weird. What if that was caused by something bodily and not just a random old pair of underwear? That led me down this rabbit hole of, okay, so let's say someone has acid that is burning holes in their underwear. Where could that go? And what is the story there? And so that paired with an interest that I'd had for a very long time in complex relationships on screen, and like most of my favorite pieces of TV and film kind of deal with that, and like especially deal with intimacy, which was something that I had been very curious to learn more about as a director. Kind of those things came together and led to what is now Love is a Fire.
Excellent. So your two actors have to get pretty intimate with each other, and your male actor exposes it quite, I mean, we see everything, and then there's a lot of genital trauma for him. Can you talk about the process of like doing that effects makeup and like working with him to make him feel comfortable doing this?
Yeah, I mean, that was like priority number one for the movie. My best friend and roommate at the time, and the person who's kind of been in all of my recent work, Selena, plays the woman in the movie. And so she kind of developed the script with me, and we are so close just based on our relationship outside of the work we create together. So, you know, I knew going into the process with her that we needed to kind of find someone who could join the wavelength of comfort that we were on. I worked with a certified intimacy coordinator that I got through the Intimacy Professionals Association here, and they were really willing to kind of work with me at the level of like this smaller scale short that it was, but still, you know, bringing someone in whose number one priority is safety and consent and creating intimate scenes. So I was very grateful to work with not one, but two amazing intimacy coordinators named Rebecca Johansson and Chantal Cousineau, who, guided me through prep and through production in sort of overall their entire process that like dealt with all these meetings between them and the actors, me and the actors, and rehearsals as well, just to kind of work out all the kinks so that when we went in on the day, we knew exactly what we were doing. In terms of the casting process for Kenny, he had read for another friend's project a few years prior, and I was the AD on that film, and my friend like had me watch the tapes just as part of his process, and that tape really stuck with me and stuck with us. So I cold emailed him in the middle of the pandemic and was like, this is a crazy idea, but are you interested in this type of thing? And he actually had some type of comparable prosthetics before. So it was like this crazy miracle where I was like, are you down for this? And he was like, oh my God, yeah, totally. I have experience with this, which was really great. And the biggest wrench that came into our process was our special effects makeup artist just got kind of wrapped up in other commitments a little over a week before shooting. And so we had to get a replacement. And I always knew this one shot where you see what the acidic yeast has done to him was critical to what the movie needed to be. And it was like full on meltdown that that week before we were shooting of like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And luckily the makeup artist who wasn't able to do it found an amazing replacement. Whose name was Rebecca, who just came in like, guns blazing, ready to dive into it. And we had talked through process over the course of like 24 hours of like, okay, what's the cheapest but also best way to get it to really sell? And we talked about like $3,000 merkins and like all sorts of crazy things, and then realized we're very lucky that dildos are extremely easy to come by and not particularly expensive. Not $3,000 merkin level. So we got some silicone dildos that she mangled extremely skillfully. And she had this great idea to like put Alka-Seltzer on it and spritz it. So like in the take, it's like actually bubbling live. And we also had the intimacy coordinator involved in the makeup application process, again, to just make sure everyone was really comfortable. But yeah, essentially what's happening behind is just a dildo being held over some taped in place Hebus and a whole lot of burn makeup and a little bit of VFX that came in at the very end to get us over the finish line. But it was pretty crazy.
Oh man. I mean, I know that every man in the theater was like, but even I was kind of like, oh, it just doesn't look comfortable at all.
Yeah, when I heard it in sound, because it's like, it was that, one of the dailies that I watched over and over again to just be like, does this sell? Does this sell? Like what, is it working? And I had become so desensitized to it just through the editing process. But I remember getting my final sound mix, like, maybe a month after I had most recently seen the movie. And it was like the first time that I was once again just sort of like totally grossed out by the imagine what that would feel like.
Oh, it's interesting to me. Can you guys, if you're not talking, mute your mics so you don't hear extraneous background noise. So everyone except Sophie mute themselves. Perfect. Thank you. I wanted to ask you about the dynamic in this relationship, because so often we see films where women are not enjoying the sex because something's hurting, or, I mean, in real life too, this happens all the time, where we just kind of put up with the thing because the man's pleasure is, generally speaking, deemed as more important than the woman's pleasure. And in this case, I feel like it's very much flipped around, where she's getting into it and she's like, yeah, and he's like, oh, something's wrong. And it was really interesting for me to see that dynamic, those tables turned. Is that something that you had like intended to put out there, or is that just kind of a nice byproduct of what the story was?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a consideration. I always knew that at the source of this character, like, she wanted to be someone who was really driven by sex. And like, really, to me, when I was writing it and thinking about the relationship, I don't know, I was very much like thinking about people who just kind of like experience love in different ways. And like, he is someone who like just wants to create the house and like get their life going together. But like, she, like, sex was really important to her. And that is one of the first things that comes up in the early days of them moving together. And it's that combination of like rejection that you can feel when that's not reciprocated. That's also like, she's not a perfect character. She should be able to understand that there's something wrong, and she maybe should deal with what is wrong, and that, it's bigger than just him, his focus on other things. But really it's just about these two characters who like are not on the same wavelength, and like have very different needs and very different ways of like experiencing this new phase in their relationship. And the toxic yeast is a manifestation of like how her needs are in some ways, I don't know, like how they're disregarding what her partner needs. At the same time, I think I have no interest in seeing a movie that has like a woman who just like hates sex and doesn't want to be experiencing it, and is not like, and perpetuating that idea. So I felt like, she, just based on like what her conflict is and the way that's manifested within herself and what the way that she needs to experience love, it just made sense to kind of have her be the one with the stronger sex drive in the relationship.
Nice. Well, it's a nice dynamic, and it's refreshing to see that in a film. And everything is so gross. I really loved the film. She's, trying to do her monostat treatment, and like the applicator is melted.
And I'm like, my mom always is like, why did she go to the doctor? I'm like, don't ask those questions. We can't ask those questions.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure that I could talk to each and every one of you about your movies forever, but we must move on. I'm going to move on to Michael Kratochvil. Am I saying your name correctly?
It's close enough. Kratochvil.
Kratochvil. Okay.
Kratochvil. Yeah.
Kratochvil. Okay.
Not an easy name to pronounce. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for joining us all the way from Australia. We really appreciate it.
No worries.
Your film, I Call Upon Thee, our audience got to see it, sort of a sneak preview at Satanic Panic night back on May 31st. And then in this Shorts Block 6. And it's a really interesting film because not only is it weird, there's some folk horror in it, I feel like, and then there's this nice relationship of like the broken family. Can you talk to me about the story itself first?
Yeah, well, it kind of came out of a nightmare that I had, which was sort of happened before I went through kind of a pretty dark time in my life, and it was almost like the dream was sort of ominous in a way. And at the end of the dream, I had this sort of feeling of like complete and utter dread that was kind of stuck with me, kind of stuck in my system. And it was something that I just sort of, it stuck in my mind, and I kept thinking about it. And so it was like the idea about the film and making the film was like trying to sort of create that feeling that I had in the dream. And that was sort of what I was trying to pay a tribute to in a way. And which kind of sounds a bit strange, because you don't usually take something horrible and then try and kind of bring life to it in a way. But it was almost an exercise for me to sort of purge some things for myself, I think, in a way. And so it was very instinctive, everything about it. Like, it was written very quickly, and I was just trying to capture that feeling without sort of being influenced by other movies or anything else. I just wanted to create that feeling and channel it through these characters, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, horror movies are often kind of a way to work out complex emotions or feelings, or like things that we really know how to put into just words. So
and I think that's completely what I set out to achieve. Is I think that's the best thing about cinema, is you can just create feelings and emotions that you just can't write in words, and that's really, the film sort of goes into that direction where it's sort of, it's hard to kind of explain everything that happens, and you'll probably be thinking about it at the end of the movie, and I'm still thinking about it myself and still trying to understand it in a way, and that's sort of exciting to me, when you can learn things about yourself, and through the things that you create, in a way, after you create them, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned that kind of a dream you had really was the catalyst for wanting to make this, because all of the lighting and the setup and like the sequence where the blasphemous Jesus figure appears, everything just kind of goes off into this just unreality, and along with the sound design and the color scheme really kind of evokes like the works of Panos Cosmatos. Are you a fan of him?
Yeah, look, I respect him, but it wasn't an influence really at all. But it's funny because a lot of people kind of mention that, but I think we've probably got similar influences, I would say, but it wasn't like, it was never really a reference that I was sort of channeling. It was, as I said, it was more just like the psychological kind of state of mind that these characters are going through, and the lighting scheme in the film was designed to have them go through these different sort of stages.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you arrive to the end of the film, you feel like these characters have kind of, in a domestic environment, they've gone through this kind of netherworld in a way. And it's like in life, when you deal with difficult things, it's like you go into other states in a way. And it's like everyone's reality is completely different in a way, and nobody really understands what another person is dealing with or going through. I think people can have really, really interesting sort of experiences in their head in a way. And in the film, I'm trying to sort of create that with these characters. They're going into these other states, which are sort of outside of reality, but they are part of reality as well. And I think that's the core of the film, is it's like a intersection between reality and kind of like supernatural. So it's like that, you got the social realist element of the girls in this impoverished kind of town, and dealing with a mother who's sort of unable to take care of them, and you've got that. And it's also the idea of like children who can suffer from depression and things like that, like they can't really articulate it. And especially, like, in my mind, the movie was set like in the 90s, so it's like now mental health is just such a buzzword, but back then, it was like nobody really talked about it, and nobody had facilities to deal with things like that as much as they do now. So it's like people were more sort of stuck in their heads in a way. So
Yeah, I totally get that. I really like how the color scheme kind of brings you along. It's like the steps of hypnosis where you go deeper and deeper.
Yeah, and we spend a lot of time just working that out. And we sort of tented the house and the windows so we could kind of create that feeling. Like, it starts kind of with the yellow kind of sun. It's a sickly kind of yellow color, and then gradually, like in the background, you'll see the colors change to kind of a reddish color. So it's sort of like going into that infernal kind of hellish kind of vibe. And then we're in this cool sort of this cool blue kind of tone, and then we go to a green kind of tone, and then it just goes into this weird sort of things get weird from there.
That's nice. And then talk about the figure that they summon. I mean, for me, I'm Christian, like Roman Catholic upbringing. My mind just went to like, oh my God, that's a really fucked up Jesus figure.
Yeah.
Why a Jesus figure rather than just like a normal demon or some kind of monster?
Well, I think there's just growing up, like I used to, we weren't really particularly like Christian family, but my mum had sort of iconography from Jesus sort of thing on the walls and things like that. And there's something almost kind of sinister when you see like the Jesus figure, and there's the open heart, and as a child, when you see that kind of imagery, it kind of it's a bit disturbing in a way, and it kind of sticks with you, and just like the hands and things like that, and there's all these strange kind of things that, from a child's perspective, when you see it, it's sort of, yeah, you can look at it as in a positive way, happy way, but then you could also look at it in a more disturbing way. And I kind of took it in that direction and sort of, I guess, inverted it a bit more. And so it's like this sort of bad energy is a kind of like a manifestation of that. And yeah, so just visually and the grand nature of it as well. There's something very grand about that sort of iconography as well, I guess, and it's visually interesting to me. And so I was just sort of exploring that, and yeah, he's a really interesting character. Again, I'm sort of learning more about him. I'm sort of adapting it into a feature now, and I'm just going more into that mythology, which is it's quite been really interesting, actually. Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about the chant that the girls say. Is that
Oh
something
yeah.
that's like like we have kids nursery rhymes and things like that, but is that something you wrote, or is that
No,
something?
yeah, I did. I wrote it, and originally my dream, it was like the girls were playing like a staring game kind of thing, and then one girl kind of breaks out of it and breaks out of a trance sort of thing, and then she's just never the same again. She just can't get out of this bad feeling that she's found herself in. But I thought I needed something a bit more than that, so I thought of the chant, and I sort of collaborated with my mum on that, actually. Like I came up with most of it, and then my mum, I think, gave me a suggestion, and which was great. And then yeah, it just, I wanted something catchy in a way that's ritualistic, and yeah, it just has that feeling that you could circulate that in a playground in a way, and it just sort of sticks in your head, and it's like a catchy song that just can't leave your brain. What is it they call, like an earworm or something like that? It's just stuck in your mind, and it's like when you repeat things in a way, you can send yourself into a trance. So it's like these girls, when they do that, it just becomes that sort of ritualistic thing where they're able to sort of touch another kind of side of, energy and that kind of thing, a different kind of energy, and bring that into their life kind of thing. So yeah, it sort of happened that way, and it's, you can do some interesting things with it, like with sound design, and so we had a lot of fun with that, actually. Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, that right up there, Freddie 1, 2, Freddie's coming for you.
Yeah. Yeah. For
It's right
sure.
up there. Yeah, it's like I hear it every now and then, like, ooh, and like I try to be like, no, don't say the whole thing.
Well, that's it. Well, my sound designer was like, yeah, just worried about like having to sort of listen to it all the time, and even saying it, and even, it's funny when you're dealing with these things, you wonder, am I actually going to conjure some kind of energy or something like that? But I kind of, yeah, it's weird because it's a pretty disturbing film, but I kind of look at it as positive in a way, because it helped me a lot in my life and, personally. So I was kind of like, converting that bad energy into something kind of positive. So yeah, I kind of, if I say it or whatever, I don't sort of feel bad about it in a way, which is interesting.
Well, I guess it's all about your perspective and your intent when you're chanting the thing.
For sure, exactly, and yeah, it's just one of those things you don't know. In the chant, it says, all the spirits in the air, I call upon thee, are you there? Up above or down below, come to me and do not go. So it's like up above or down below. You don't know what energy you're going to call. It's almost like a lucky dip,
Yeah.
It could be bad energy. You could have the grim pope, or you could have something great happen to you. So, which is kind of like life in a way, with what you focus on and what you sort of want in your life, you can almost manifest in a way, and so it's yeah.
They said that I just want to go.
Well, thank you so much, Michael.
No worries.
Yeah, wonderful film. Thank you. I'm gonna hop over to Andrew Cash, and your film Hooky is the one of the most unhinged children's TV program hosts, bad influences, genie on the shoulder, devil on the shoulder. Where did that come from? So the design of Hooky with the oversized eyes and like the weird mouth and the top hat and everything, where did that come from?
Well, the whole thing was sort of born out of, surprise, surprise, the pandemic. My kids were doing remote learning at the time, which was its own nightmare. And I would catch them going down these weird rabbit holes, ditching their Zoom classes and looking up weird YouTube clips. So that kind of idea popped in of like, all right, what if they encounter some really bizarre character that's sort of like Pennywise crossed with Max Headroom? And my kids were also love them to death, but they were also like cooped up in a little apartment for, a year. They were like, driving me a little crazy sometimes. So it's like, okay, what if this character teaches them, these bored kids, to play horrible, sadistic pranks on their parents? So that was sort of like the genesis of it. And so I wanted to do like a weird facial collage and constantly have it be unsettling and offbeat, and was sort of like thinking, who are some people that I know that have like really unique facial features, that can turn in really wild performances. So I asked my friends Richard Elfman and Anastasia Elfman, who are cult filmmakers themselves, and shot them with my iPhone, and then got another friend of mine, Josh Lacasse, who's a very physical actor. He slapped on a blank white mask, and I had to perform in front of a green screen. And then it was just all about messing around with the facial features and changing things up, and just making it very bizarre and weird. And my friend Eli basically did like the final composite, and we were just playing with different eye sizes, mouth sizes, just making the proportions seem like as like unnatural and nightmarish as possible. So that's sort of how that came about.
All right. It's extremely uncanny valley in the face, and it's like, ooh, yeah, I kind of forget how weird it is until I see it again. Like to block it out. So I noticed that there's a couple of cameos by like our friend Cody Goodfellow is the Zoom class instructor.
Yeah. Cody wrote it. I basically pitched the concept to him, and Cody's, as anybody who knows him, is an epic wordsmith, and has all sorts of crazy ideas. And he really he wrote like a really lean and mean 3-page script, which is perfect. And yeah, Cody's a hell of a performer too. And so we just spent like probably an hour over Zoom, and he was just improvising. Like you could actually do a short film based on Cody's improvisations in the Zoom class as the board professor. And he even like threw up that Animorphs poster in the back. Like that was all him. Art directed the whole background from his house, which is great. But Cody's a genius. I love working with him.
He brings his A game all the time. He's actually in another film that we played on opening night, Doppelbanger, John Skipp's Doppelbanger.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Got a double dose of the Goodfellow in this festival.
You can never have enough Cody Goodfellow.
Right. And so your children, who I'm assuming were just very game to be in your film, have they been in others of your films?
Yeah, I was making like just iPhone short after iPhone short in lockdown with them, and this was one of them because I had nothing. But like I was just going out of my mind, and I couldn't hire any professional actors, and couldn't do much. So it was just, it was really just all experimenting with my iPhone. And my oldest Zoe is, like got bit by the acting bug at an early age. She's been in some movies and other short films and things like that. So she's popped up on plenty of other festival shorts from other filmmakers too. And my youngest Mia is just kind of game for everything. So I think it's good. They're little naturals. And I just say daddy goggles on.
Yeah, okay. The interplay between them, like they're really natural in front of the camera. Were they always that way, or did you have to work with them a little bit, or?
I kind of like, I mean, it was kind of conceived around what we knew they could do. And, Cody and I had conversations about it, about like, the lengths that we could take it, especially with dialogue and all that. And it was it was really just, kind of like acting school with them. Just, give me this reaction. Big eyes, like it's like you try and keep it as basic as possible. The hardest thing is just getting two little kids to sit still for an hour while you're shooting on the iPhone. Because after about 20 minutes, they're like, yeah, can we play video games now? So
excellent. Well, do you have any future works with them, starring them, that will be coming out?
No, I still haven't tackled the old feature yet, unfortunately. I'm still trying to crack that nut. But I am doing something. I'm working on with the Elfmans right now. I'm in post-production on a movie with them that Richard directed, which is a vampire burlesque musical called Bloody Bridget, which is we're kind of in the final stages of now. So
nice. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you, Andrew Cash.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hop over to Chris McEnroy. Let's talk about Guts. So Guts, this gentleman is he really wants a promotion, but he's hampered by the fact that his guts are on the outside. So why not just put a plastic bag over that? I mean, that wouldn't be as funny, but
yeah, I mean, that joke is in there where he's like, well, I just cut my shirts around it so I don't get them dirty. But then it's like, well, you ruined all your shirts, you idiot.
How did you conceive of this guy with his guts on the outside?
I was just trying to think of a movie idea also during the pandemic, and I was bored, and I got this image of a dude with his guts on the outside of his body, sitting at an office desk job. And I really like stories about outsiders that have to like beat the normal people. And so I'm like, okay, so I like shock value stuff. This dude's got his guts out. What's grosser? Well, what if he eats his own guts? Like, ooh, that's really gross. But why does he do that? Like, well, he wants to get his guts on the inside to be like the normal people. Okay, so it all just kind of like, that was my thought process of getting to the story of Guts. And I grew up on 80s movies, and there's like a theme of 80s movies with there's always bullies. So I had to throw in a bully in like a new employee that's the bully that also wants the promotion that he has to beat as well. Yeah.
And has to compete for the girl.
Always got to compete for the girl. The only thing I didn't put in there is like hitting an alarm clock because he was late for work. Like that's always in those movies, but I didn't do it. I knew Izzy. I saw that. I knew better not to do that.
That's kind of it's why be hacky when you can be funny.
Yeah, right.
Was that so I'm assuming that was some kind of appliance that he had to wear just strapped to him.
Yeah, it was.
And then what did you spray that down with to make it all gooey?
There's actually a product that's just called Ultra Slime that we bought and gooped it up and used food coloring to make it red and slimy and drippy. We shot it in an office space that is a church, like it's used as a church, but we took all the pews out and whatever else the church has and put in cubicle walls in there. And they were like, just don't get any blood and guts on the carpet because they're carpet squares. And if you ruin one, they don't sell them anymore. So we'll have to replace this whole room. So we always had a piece of cardboard under Kirk's guts to catch all the stuff. And we put tarps everywhere. And then all the scenes where all the brutal accidental deaths happened, we shot in a studio and just kept the camera below the cubicle walls so we could get blood all over the place then.
Oh my gosh. You have some of the best kill scenes or some of the best ways of dying in your films. So this is how many films has Chris McEnroy had in our festival? I know Death Metal and Guts. We Summoned a Demon.
We Summoned a Demon and Guts. Okay. Yeah, 3.
Yeah. So you're definitely making a name for yourself in the horror comedy with like goo, blood and guts spray. What's your favorite method of killing? What's your favorite way to die for your characters?
I'm a huge fan of body melts and body explosions. So I've always been trying to do a head explosion as good as Scanners, and I just don't know if it's possible. I feel like I got kind of close in the segment I did in Scare Package, the one time in the woods where the head blows up. But those are my favorite ways, just really goopy. And I feel like for me, it has to be kind of accidental that it happens, so you can still like the people. And it feels like somehow it's like a charming way to die. Oh, he died, but I don't feel so bad about it. Yeah, I don't know. Anything that can be over the top, gory, practical, to the point of funny. Like, and we summon a demon. There's definitely not that much blood in a chicken. You know, like there was just so much blood that came out of that chicken.
How do you how do you balance that funny with gory? I mean, this is like a masterclass question, but you seem to strike this really nice balance of like everything, like being really funny while being really messy. Is that something that you just have a natural talent for, or is that something you've studied other films to try to perfect on your own?
Yeah, I haven't really studied anything. I feel like it's just because I'm super weird and it just works out for me.
Okay. Well, yeah, Guts is great. I love how they the weirdness of being in an office environment to begin with is then just amplified through all of the weird interactions with people, and people just trying to ignore the guy with the intestines hanging out and just being like douchebags about it. So, thank you so much for Guts.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for having me. All these movies sound amazing, by the way. I can't wait till they open up tomorrow and I can watch them.
Yeah. So Izzy and Steve, hello.
Hey,
yes.
let's go.
Meet Friend. So Izzy, you have two films in our program on Sunday. Memento Mori, which is a micro short, and we can talk about that too. But Meet Friend is the one that's in the Shorts Gone Wild block, and it's about a little girl who has a meat friend.
That's right.
And it's exactly how it sounds. I love it. You kind of like, you can't microwave hamburger. Is that feels like something that happened to you? Is that
Sorry, I was marveling at Andrew's kitty. So fun. And Chris, amazing to see you again. You're fucking hilarious. We love you. This is like the 5th or 6th festival we played in together. Oh my God. Anyway, yes, the meat friend. Don't ever fucking kill yourself with microwaving hamburger meat or Impossible Burger, which is what we use, thinking like, this won't be as bad. It was vile. We really microwaved that shit, and I had to sniff lavender oil to keep from herking at 11 a.m. So don't do that, kids.
Oof. I'm sorry. But I guess is that the catalyst for Meat Friend was
it was, like many of us here, no, like just being existing in this aggressive dystopia and needing a way out and thinking of insane things at night. Like we have conversations, I say things like, Steve, what do you want vengeance for in this world? And I'll be like really fired up, and he'd be like, what?
I don't know. I just have a lot of nightmare fuel imagery that comes to mind, and
he will say not enough pancakes.
I don't know. I just say random things, and then I think you have to have a sense of humor in all this craziness. So for me, as co-writer on this, and I am actually the voice of Meat Friend as well, and the puppeteer, but you just it's almost like it's so absurd that just to have a little more comedy. We don't see enough comedy, never mind horror comedy and all these other fun things. So I don't know, Izzy was kind enough to like encourage me to like, no, keep some of these ideas coming, let's work together, and then we really hopefully created something fun, not necessarily for kids, but you know, that sort of charm hopefully came through.
I needed a heightened reality to get us out of this insanely heightened reality. Like I needed to watch Roadhouse for the millionth time last night to like forget about all this shit, you know. I'm like, I need to get someone's throat ripped out. Thank you very much. It's on cinema, you know, it's on the TV. But anyway, yeah, that's how we roll right now. We're all insane now. Yay.
Yeah, yay! It makes perfect sense. So the design of the meat friend, who built the meat friend, and who?
Oh, that would
who
be our
painted
friend
it?
in Portland, Eli Dorsey, who also worked on Andrew's film and John Skip's film. Friend of many filmmakers. Yeah. So I drew a sketch of it and then I sent it to Eli, and because he had volunteered to do this puppet creation. God love him. And it took a while, and we refitted it, and he was like, all right, well, who's doing the puppet? I'm like, why, it's Steve. And so we traced Steve's hand and like scanned it to him, his big paw here, and he's like, I'm just gonna use an oven mitt for the inside. And that's what it was. And I'm like, hey, so what is the rest of this made out of? He's like, well, besides the glass eyes that I repainted like with like 8 layers, he said it was a lot of latex paint, upholstery, fabric, and foam, and failure was his answer.
Great puppet though.
It's an awesome puppet.
Thank you, Eli.
Yes, thank
Brilliant.
you.
How much did it weigh? Was it heavy?
It weighed heavy enough
Yeah.
that for 2 days of shooting, having to hold your hand up, I'm not like a bodybuilder. It was a workout, you know, but it was not heavy. I was more concerned with I didn't want to damage it, moving the mouth too much and things like that. But hopefully that was part of the charm where, you know, you could tell not a huge budget, but Eli did a great job, and hopefully like that sort of skinless cookie monster came through.
Yeah.
And I was channeling some Danny DeVito, some like belligerent, always sunny Danny DeVito maybe.
Yeah.
Who you wouldn't want teaching kids, never mind, you know, babysitting. So that's sort of where some of that came from.
Chef.
That's it.
Yeah, South Park a little bit there.
Yeah.
Hello, children.
Hello.
Plural, always plural.
Always plural, because
Yeah.
it makes no sense. That's the point.
Balls. Oh my gosh. So this here, let me I have some comments from the peanut gallery over here. This film is triggering some new catchphrases for us, like those don't sound like accidents. And, yeah. Me friend. So the actress who plays
Marnie.
the little kid, Marnie, is
Marnie McKendry.
the
Yeah.
best. Like her facial expressions. Had she ever acted in anything before, or was this
She
her
was
first?
a baby in Tales from Halloween, and then fast forward 7 years because she just turned 9. Yeah, meat friend, and now she's got an agent and a manager and headshots, and she wants to do this for a living. She was crying when we were wrapped and didn't want us to leave. It was amazing. We have a meat friend drawing from her of meat friend, myself, and the camera on the fridge over there. Oh my god, it's so cute. And yeah. I hope to work with her again because she's amazing. And Rebecca and David McKendry are friends and horror filmmakers as well. And man, can you imagine growing up with cool parents like that? Oh, dream.
We can all wish for that.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So for the outside scenes, how did you manage that with the puppet?
Oh my god, that took a lot of finagling in the bushes with, what did we use, a stick or a something that they had in their backyard. We shot at the McKendry's home, and it took a lot of finagle. Well, we had like the Burbank airport was, there was a helicopter and so many noise delays. Holy shit. And then yeah, we had to get that over with really quickly because it was just madness with.
It was pretty hot. It was
Oh my
very
God.
hot,
101 degrees in Burbank in late August last year.
Marnie was great though. She was
Yeah.
very pretty disciplined actually. Maybe I complained more than she did, to be honest.
Yeah, you all did.
But yeah, it was like, kind of, we had, I don't know if it was a camera tripod or something. We stuck Meat Friend at the end of that. And like, I was holding it from like 6 or 8 feet away off camera. And it was actually a good workout. I probably should thank you for that because I don't get enough workout. And puppeteering, man, it's a whole new respect for everyone in the Henson Company and other puppeteers. Like it's not easy. But yeah, I thought it was fun, and we all seem to have fun shooting it, and hopefully we learned something.
How to make an accident, Steve.
How to make a shiv.
There's always a
That's
different way to spin the truth.
Baking a shiv is really fucking easy. You know what we do? Here's how I made that one right in our kitchen, right over there. Well, you take a fucking, an old plastic ready, whatever, like the dentist, toothbrush they give you at the dentist, whatever. You light it on fire on the neck, and you cut it with a pair of scissors, and then you chip it upside down, you shape it a little bit more with the flames, you cut it, and then, you just keep letting it until it makes a nice little point, and that's it. And that's how you make a shiv, children. Enjoy.
Oh my gosh.
Don't try this at home. Just kidding.
No.
Or inside. Don't huff the fumes though. Or you might, stab yourself in the eye by accident. So I noticed also that the mother in Meet Friend, is she also in Memento Mori?
She is. That is Megan Duffy, who was also in Maniac and had a small, role in Mad Men once upon a time, and a whole bunch of other things. Yeah, she's amazing.
Talk about Memento Mori for a moment, and how that came about, because that's what, like a 2-minute long.
Not even. Yeah. Yeah, sure. The NYX horror group, they have a 13 minutes of horror competition for Shudder, and basically you make a micro short, so it's 59, 60 seconds exclusive of credits you get like another 20 seconds for. And then so that they have a theme every year. This is only the second year, and it was sci-fi horror, so I was like, run around on Gigster and found some cool shit. This is a really cool retro science electronics lab in Alhambra, and started to formulate a story around that. And then my friend Sophia Casciola, like a day later, after I'm formulating this whole story in my head, she texted me. She's like, "Hey, I'm in San Francisco," and I'm like, "Really? What?" And she's in LA usually. And so I was like, "What are you doing?" And she was here for a shoot, and I'm like, "That's so funny. I was gonna call you later or text you and like talk about this thing." And then I got on a plane 2 days later. We shot it that weekend, and that was that. Everything was done within half a day. It was fucking nuts. Yeah. It was like a 48-hour film competition type of thing, but not.
The look of it is fantastic. Everything is so designed, and like you get so much information in that short amount of time. I really liked the way that that you styled Megan.
Yeah.
You styled her, and like she was really reminiscent of like Carolyn Purdy Gordon in
oh my god, well that was a main influence, From Beyond, for sure, because it's a retro thing. It takes place, my film, in 1983, and that was exactly my influence. Oh my god, you have such a great eye. Yes. So we got her in these huge glasses. I let her hair be natural because that's how it is normally. We did the styling with the clothes and the eye makeup and stuff. But yeah, it's we've got this crazy oscilloscope, and it got into that competition and made a selection, and so it'll be on Shudder from August 13th to November 1st. You'll be able to see it. Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Actually, August 13th is Brian's birthday.
Oh, cool.
Celebrate. Woo. All right. I've kept you guys on for over an hour at this point. And I could talk to you so much more, but let's go around and tell people where they can find you on the internet. So if they want to follow your film or follow you as a filmmaker, what's the best place for them to find you? And I'm going to go back up to William Lott.
Sorry, we were muted. You can find me at on all socials, William L. Lott, Lott. No spaces. What about you?
Oh, you can find me through him.
Okay. Daniel, how about you?
I am on Instagram. My name, Daniel Del Purgatorio, and then our movie is bugbites.wtf, and a website, delpurgatorio.com, but nobody knows how to spell that, but that's my website.
Thanks, Dan. How about Stefan? Where do we find you?
I'm new to Instagram and all social media, so I'm actually on Instagram now as Video Violence. You can just add me there, chat with me, and I think that page is just going to be exclusively just erotic insect festival news. But I'm hoping to put some more info about the new short, so you guys can follow me there and add me, and we can chat about From Beyond or Yizna.
How about Sophie?
I'm on Instagram at Sophie Rose S, and then Love is a Fire _film. And I also have a website, sophiesamaroff.com. So any of those, you'll be able to get to me.
Amazing. Michael.
Sorry, I'm unmuted now. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Michael Anthony Craddockville, or my website, michaelcraddockville.net.
Andrew Cash.
You can find me on Facebook or Instagram under my name.
All one word?
All one word, Andrew Cash. Yep.
Chris McEnroy.
Yeah, I have a Vimeo channel that's got a bunch of my other shorts on it. It's vimeo.com/Chris McEnroy. My Instagram is Dr. Chrisenstein. And Guts is going to be playing festivals through November, and then we're going to throw it online for free.
Izzy and Steve, where do we find you?
Hey, I am Niall Noctum Film on Twitter and Niall Noctum on Instagram. And do you want to be found or not?
Sure. Steve Johansson, Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome.
And we have Rehome on Shudder, which is part of Etheria Collection season 6. Yeah, that stars our friend Gigi So Guerrero. And I've got My Monster and Rites of Vengeance on Alter on YouTube. And then, yeah, like I said, Memento Mori later on, August 13th to November 1st on Shudder as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all so much. We loved your films, obviously, and we always try to go out with a woo on a high note for the festival, and so thank you for contributing to our ability to send our audience off with a big smile on their faces. So yeah, thanks for taking time out to chat with me today, and it was really nice to see all of your faces, so thanks so much. If you guys go on our Discord server, you can talk with each other, you can talk with our audience members, you can talk with our filmmakers and talk with each other. So all of those things are out there. If you missed any of the rest of the festival, it's still streaming through July 6th on Eventive. Go to portlandhorror.eventive.org and look at all the good stuff there. So thank you so much, guys. Bye.